Okay, so imagine you're an explorer and you stumble across this like old dusty journal, right? And it's talking about this creature.
Yeah.
That honestly sounds like straight out of fantasy, you know?
Right.
Like some kind of made up thing.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about today.
Absolutely.
We're talking about the Western Cuban Nesophontes.
That's right.
A tiny mammal
Yeah.
that used to live in the forests of Cuba,
That's right.
but is sadly gone now.
Yeah, extinct.
Extinct.
But luckily, it left behind clues,
Okay.
little whispers in the fossil record
Oh, cool.
that help us paint a really vivid picture of its life
Right.
and the mystery surrounding its disappearance.
So we've got this whole island as like our crime scene.
Right.
And instead of fingerprints,
Uh-huh.
we have bones and teeth.
Yeah.
So, like, how do we even start with something like this? I
Yeah.
mean, what did this Nesophontes even look like?
Well, you can think of a shrew,
Okay.
but picture it like sculpted by millions of years of living on an island.
Okay.
This wasn't just any shrew. It was a Cuban Nesophontes.
Got it.
It had a real long body,
Uh-huh.
a long snout, perfect for sniffing out prey,
Okay.
and sharp teeth designed for an insectivorous diet.
Yeah.
So we're talking like insect spiders, all those critters hiding in the undergrowth.
Oh, wow. So, like a tiny little furry exterminator.
Yeah.
Keeping all the creepy crawlies in check.
Yeah.
But how do we even know this? I mean, we haven't seen it alive.
Yeah.
We don't have footage of it, like, running around.
That's the beauty of paleontology.
Okay.
So the Nesophontes bones, they actually tell a story.
Okay.
You see those sturdy limbs and claws? They're like a blueprint,
Uh-huh.
showing us that this little guy was a skilled digger.
Oh, cool.
So imagine it creating these really elaborate tunnel systems
Right.
beneath the Cuban forests.
Wow.
And the skull, specifically the areas related to smell, suggests that it relied heavily on scent,
Okay.
which is a classic sign of an animal that navigated the world at night.
So a burrow-dwelling nighttime prowler. I love it sneaking around in the dark looking for a snack.
Yeah.
But here's what's really blowing my mind.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't just any ordinary shrew, was it?
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
This was a member of a really exclusive club,
Okay.
the Nesophontidae family.
Mm-hmm.
And get this, they were unique to the Caribbean islands,
Wow.
evolving in total isolation for over 30 million years.
Hold on, 30 million years?
Yep.
That's older than some mountain ranges.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah, that time scale is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But you said evolving in isolation, so is that why they were so different from the shrews we see in other parts of the world?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So picture this, millions of years ago, a tiny Nesophontes ancestor arrives on this pristine island.
Okay.
Resources are limited.
Uh-huh.
There are no big predators around.
Right.
And over many generations,
Yeah.
natural selection starts to favor the smaller individuals,
Okay.
the ones that need less food.
Right.
And this is what we call insular dwarfism. It's a phenomenon where island life leads to some really unique adaptations.
So it's like evolution custom-made this creature just for life on that island.
Exactly.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what other amazing creatures were around back then.
Right.
So we've got this unique, ancient little bug-eating mammal perfectly at home in Cuba, but it's not around anymore.
Sadly, no. So what happened? Okay, so picture this idyllic scene.
Yeah.
The Nesophontes thriving for thousands of years, really resilient.
Right.
And then humans arrive.
Oh.
And it disrupts this delicate balance.
Right.
You see, islands are kind of like time capsules,
Okay.
preserving unique species.
Yeah.
But that isolation makes them really fragile.
So it's like paradise lost.
Yeah.
This tiny mammal survives for millions of years and then gone,
Right.
just as humans show up.
It's tragic.
It is.
And the Nesophontes story isn't unique to Cuba.
Right.
Island ecosystems all over the world are incredibly vulnerable to this kind of disruption.
So if we look at the timeline,
Mm-hmm.
the Nesophontes probably went extinct sometime after Europeans arrived in the Caribbean,
Yeah, that's right.
which was like the late 15th century.
Right.
So it's like bringing a sport to a knife fight.
Yeah, pretty much.
So are we talking about the usual suspects when it comes to extinction?
Yeah.
Like rats, cats, dogs, that kind of thing?
You got an invasive species.
Right.
These animals, they often hitched rides on ships
Mm-hmm.
and wreaked havoc
Yeah.
on the native animals in the Caribbean.
So I imagine for the Nesophontes,
Yeah.
having evolved with no natural predators, this must have been terrifying.
It must have been.
Like they had no defenses.
Right.
And they were just getting preyed on.
Yep.
Outcompeted for food.
Yeah.
And probably getting new diseases.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. It's
Yeah.
just heartbreaking to think about what that must have been like for them.
Yeah.
So was that it?
Well,
A few furry invaders, and that's the end of an entire species.
it's rarely ever that simple.
Right.
Alongside those invasive predators, humans were also clearing land
Okay.
for agriculture and settlements, destroying the Nesophontes' habitat.
Got it.
So it's kind of this 1-2 punch.
Oof, yeah.
You have the habitat loss and the invasive species.
Yeah.
And that ultimately led to their extinction.
It's such a powerful reminder of how interconnected everything is.
Yeah.
In these delicate ecosystems.
It really is.
And it makes you think, are we seeing something similar happening today?
That's a question worth thinking about.
It is.
The Nesophontes might be gone, but its story echoes through time.
Right.
And it really urges us to consider the impact our actions have
Yeah.
on the natural world.
Definitely.
I think we've covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah, we have.
But there's still so much more to unpack
Absolutely.
about the Nesophontes
Definitely.
and its significance.
Yeah.
So we'll delve further into this fascinating story
Okay.
after a quick break. You know, before the break, we were talking about the extinction of the Western Cuban Nesophontes.
Yeah.
And it really shows us that even small actions can have big consequences,
Right.
especially on islands.
It's crazy to think about this tiny mammal
Yeah.
living its best life for millions of years.
I know.
And then suddenly it's gone, like in the blink of an eye,
Right.
and it's all because of us.
Yeah. And it really highlights our impact on the planet and the responsibility we have.
It's true, the Nesophontes isn't an isolated case either.
No, not at all.
Island ecosystems are just so fragile.
Exactly.
It's like they're not ready for all these new predators and competitors.
They're like walking into a trap.
Totally. And they don't have time to adapt.
No.
It makes you think about conservation in a whole new way.
Yeah.
I mean, if losing one little creature like the Nesophontes can have such a big impact,
Right.
what does that tell us about biodiversity?
That's a really important question. The Nesophontes' extinction shows us how interconnected everything is.
Right.
And what can happen when we mess with those connections.
So like a delicate web.
Exactly.
You break one thread and the whole thing could fall apart.
That's a good way to put it.
So walk me through this.
Okay.
What happens when you lose a major insectivore?
Well, remember, the Nesophontes ate a lot of insects.
Right.
It helped keep those populations under control.
Oh.
But without it, those populations could explode.
Oh, no.
Leading to all sorts of problems.
So it's like an all-you-can-eat bug buffet.
Pretty much.
With no one to RSVP.
Yeah.
I get it.
So imagine a forest.
Okay.
Where certain insects are multiplying like crazy.
Yeah.
Because their main predator is gone. This can have a domino effect.
Okay.
For example, a surge in certain insects could totally decimate plant life.
Wow.
Trees could lose all their leaves,
Oh, no.
get weaker and more susceptible to disease.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's not just about losing one cute little creature.
Right.
It's about the whole ecosystem unraveling.
Yeah, this is making me realize just how delicate
They are very delicate.
these balances really are.
Yeah.
And this is why studying extinct animals, like the Nesophontes, is so important.
It is.
It helps us understand these complex ecosystems.
And the consequences of our actions.
So it's like a warning from the past.
Yeah, a cautionary tale.
Whispering to us about protecting these delicate balances.
Exactly.
What can we learn from this vanished creature?
Right.
How can we protect other vulnerable species?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
I think the key takeaway here is that we need to move beyond just thinking about protecting individual species. We need to focus on whole habitats.
Got it.
And the entire web of life within them.
Okay.
It's about seeing the bigger picture.
The interconnectedness of it all.
Exactly.
So what does that look like in practice?
It starts with understanding the threats.
Okay.
Invasive species, habitat destruction, climate change.
Yeah.
These are major challenges.
They are.
And we need to address them.
That's a lot.
It is.
It feels kind of overwhelming to think about tackling all that.
Yeah.
But what can we do as individuals?
There's a lot we can do, even small things.
Like what?
Supporting organizations dedicated to protecting wildlife and habitats.
Okay.
That's a great start.
Right?
We can also make changes in our own lives to lessen our impact on the environment.
Got it.
And, of course, advocating for policies that prioritize conservation.
So it's a group effort.
Absolutely.
Every little action adds up.
It does.
But thinking about the Nesophontes, it's kind of a downer.
Yeah. I understand.
Is there anything about the Nesophontes that gives us hope for the future?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Despite its sad ending, the Nesophontes shows us the incredible power of adaptation. This little creature thrived in a tough environment.
It did.
For millions of years.
Yeah.
It evolved special traits that helped it succeed.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
So the Nesophontes is like a symbol of nature's creativity.
And resilience.
And its story also tells us...
What's that?
That we need to do our part.
Absolutely.
To help other species adapt and survive.
We do.
Exactly. We need to learn from the past.
Yes.
Understand the present. And protect the future.
Well said.
The Nesophontes might be gone.
Yeah.
But its legacy lives on.
It does.
It teaches us about the interconnectedness of life.
Right.
And how important it is to protect our planet's biodiversity.
I think that's a good place to wrap things up.
I agree. We've covered a lot.
We have.
About the Western Cuban Nesophontes.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
Full of intrigue and insights.
And a little bit of sadness.
Yeah, but I think ultimately it's a story that makes us think about our place in the world.
Definitely.
And our impact on all the amazing life around us.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us.
You too. You know, I'm still thinking about that Western Cuban Nesophontes.
Yeah, it's amazing how one tiny creature can teach us so much.
Yeah, about evolution, about island ecosystems, even about our own impact on the planet.
It really makes you think.
It does.
About how fragile things are.
You mentioned earlier how losing the Nesophontes could have had a ripple effect on the whole Cuban ecosystem.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that a bit more?
Of course.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Like, how could something so small have such a big impact?
Well, remember, the Nesophontes was a specialist.
Okay.
It had one job, basically, keeping those insect populations in check.
Right.
So what happens when you take that piece out?
I'm picturing tons of mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Clouds of gnats.
Exactly.
Not a good time.
And it's not just about being annoying. Those insects could really damage plant life.
Oh, yeah.
Like imagine all those leaf-eating caterpillars just going to town on the trees.
Right.
Defoliating them.
Wow.
Weakening them.
So the trees are more likely to get sick.
Exactly.
And even die.
And potentially even die off in large numbers.
So one thing leads to another, and the whole ecosystem starts to fall apart.
It can, yeah.
But how can we be sure that the Nesophontes was the main cause?
Well, we can't go back in time and run an experiment.
Exactly.
But we can look at other cases where predators have been removed and see what happened.
Like what?
Well, a great example is Yellowstone National Park.
Okay.
Remember when they reintroduced wolves?
Oh, yeah.
After they'd been gone for a long time?
Yeah.
Well, that had a huge impact.
Okay.
On the whole ecosystem.
Really?
Yeah, the elk populations were brought back into balance. Overgrazing was reduced.
Wow.
Vegetation started flourishing.
That's amazing.
Even the rivers changed course.
So the Nesophontes was like the wolf.
In a way, yeah.
Of the Cuban forests.
That's a good way to think about it.
Its absence really messed things up.
It seems like it.
So we can't bring back the Nesophontes.
Right.
But we can learn from it.
Absolutely.
It shows us how important it is to protect biodiversity and to understand how everything is connected.
It really is all connected.
Are there any lessons from the Nesophontes adaptations
What do you think?
that we can use today?
Well, one thing that stands out to me is just how well it adapted to its specific environment.
Yeah, millions of years in isolation.
Exactly.
It knew how to survive there.
It did.
But that also made it vulnerable.
Yeah, when things changed too quickly.
Okay, it couldn't keep up.
It's a good reminder that specialization can be a double-edged sword.
So how do we approach conservation then?
Well,
are we fighting a losing battle?
Not necessarily. I think it's about having a multi-pronged approach.
Right.
Protecting not just species.
Yeah.
But also their habitats.
Got it.
The whole environment.
It's about preserving the whole tapestry of life.
I like that.
But what can we do as individuals?
It can feel overwhelming.
It can.
But there are things we can do.
Okay.
Supporting organizations that work on conservation.
Right.
Volunteering our time.
Okay.
Advocating for change. Even just making sustainable choices.
Yeah. Every little bit helps.
It all adds up.
It's about being aware.
Yes.
Making good choices.
Absolutely.
And taking action.
We're all connected to this web of life.
And we all have a part to play.
I agree. The Nesophontidae